everything we go through where there's a darkness or it feels like a darkness and it feels so daunting, get past it. Take that one little place to get past it. And the light is so much brighter than where you've been. So,
Start. Just begin where you are with what you have, with what feels capable inside of you today. Right now is the best moment to make change at any magnitude. Any change that you make in this moment is change, and it all counts.
welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. We're your hosts, Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach,
And Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author. Together, we bring two perspectives, two styles, and one shared passion for epigenetics.
On this podcast, we delve into topics such as environment, nutrition, fitness, mindset, social dynamics, and trauma as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone.
We recognize that everyone's needs are unique. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions for your mind, body, and heart. The true magic lies within you.
So if you're ready to create a radiant life through epigenetics and reclaim your authentic self, then buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. We are your hosts. I am certified epigenetic human performance coach, Susan Robbins, and I am here with the lovely
Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author.
So this is a place where we talk about everything, lifestyle and environment, and how it relates to our genetic expression. And we've talked about fear. We've talked about love. Now we're going to talk about changing your life by changing your genetic expression. People wonder, what really is it? What does it mean to say, I'm making lifestyle changes? Does it mean I'm going to work out? Does it mean I'm going to change my diet? Does it mean looking at relationships differently? It means everything, all of that. And we're going to discuss that today. What Kate and I both talked about before we started recording this, we both hear it from clients that we work with. When we bring something up and we hear, I know I need to do something. I know I need to make a change there. I know I need to, quote, do this. But it doesn't happen. And we're going to try to unpack why it doesn't happen. We're going to look at the different health types. Kate's going to come at it from more of a psychological standpoint so that we can help you take the first steps to make that change and not be stuck in that stuck mode that we get in of inaction, which just leads to nothing. And if we keep doing the same things, nothing changes. I'm going to start it with one of my other, you guys know I do quotes all the time, but I have things that just sit with me that are super impactful. And one that I found last year, and I just saw it come up a couple times on Facebook again, is that we tend to choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. So we want to talk about why this happens. When you literally are living in like a situation from hell, a very unhealthy relationship, terrible job, your life just isn't where you want it to be for whatever reason. And right over here on the other side, it's like you're looking across this little creek that you have to get across, and there's rocks you can walk on. Might be a little bit treacherous, but you can make it to the other side. But you choose to stay on that side, even though the other side is blue. I say this because I've been hiking, blooming and beautiful and filled with flowers that just have this so much promise, except you're stuck in the mud on the other side. Go ahead, Kate. You can start on the psychological part. Why don't you start unpacking the suitcase?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day out there. I think probably more than a few of you can relate to this idea of gosh, I know I've got inflammation, or I know I keep being attracted to the wrong person or the same relationships. I know I need to change, but I'm somehow not getting there. And I think it's also important to recognize with the unfamiliar hell, the unfamiliar potential heaven thing is it's not always that you're living in hell. Like, you might just be living in, okay, not great, but also not too bad. I see a lot of people in my practice who are there. They're surviving, things are okay, but they're not thriving. And so to be able to take a leap
Difference.
between life's okay, there's some issues, I'm not super happy, but I'm not super down either, right? Because oftentimes it does take people to rock bottom for them to really make change, but it doesn't have to. The idea here, especially with changing your lifestyle to change your life, is to nip some of these things before you get to rock bottom so that you don't have severe depressive disorder or cancer or some kind of huge illness that then is a wake up call. We don't want to get that far. We want to attend to these things as we become aware of them so that we're capturing the most radiant life along the way and creating these pivots as they present and taking the opportunities for change when they arise. So, as you were talking about the stepping stones across the river, Susan, I was thinking about an art therapy directive that I've used for decades. It's such a good one. It's a classic art therapy directive. It's a bridge drawing. And so I'll do this with clients who are navigating change or kind of understanding I'm here right now and I have to get to the point where I can be somewhere else. And what I'll have them do is create a drawing of a bridge that represents on the left side of the page, they represent metaphorically like where are you now? Does it feel like a bog, or is there a storm going on, or is it just a heavy fog? Are you alone? Is it cold and dark? And then where do you want to be on the right side of the page? That would be the maybe unfamiliar version of heaven that you're working towards. Maybe blooming flowers, like you said, or blue sky. Maybe there's groups of relationships over there that feel better. Maybe there's a sense of levity or buoyancy or freedom over there. And then together we create the bridge. And so in art
Mhm.
therapy, everything is always steeped in metaphor. And so the bridge represents how it feels to go from here to there. So sometimes if people feel really resourced and really ready, they create a rock solid bridge. They're like, this feels great. I could walk across this thing with my eyes closed. There are handrails, like it's in perfect shape. And other times people create those sort of like Tibetan swinging bridges where if you are not careful, you're going to fall to your death. They feel really scary. They feel unstable. So the bridge from here to there is really indicative of where you're at in your internal process, maybe with your physical health as well. How supported you feel? What are the conditions that you find yourself at in your life facing this obstacle and this potential for change? And then I'll have people put themselves somewhere in on this bridge in this drawing. Like,
Mhm.
are you stuck in that bog in the familiar.
Sand.
Yeah, like, just really draw yourself, like, depict what that looks like. Oftentimes, people are somewhere on the bridge where they're like, "I've been moving toward what I want, but I'm frozen solid because this is one of those swinging bridges, and I am gonna have to take a leap." And so this can be just a helpful metaphor for people who like creative imagery and visual imagery to help them process. And I think it's important too that we talk about just the word change. There are so many people who really avoid change. It's so uncomfortable for them. It can be paralyzing, it can be terrifying. And there's other people, maybe the more impulsive people, maybe the activators among us who are like, I love change. Change is fresh and new and feels exciting and feels like novelty. So I think it's crucial to really identify here for all of you listeners. Like, there's going to be some of you who are terrified of this idea, others who might be a little too impulsive about it. And then there's everything in between, right? So if you're afraid of change or if you feel resistant to it, It could be your temperament. Maybe, Susan, you can speak to certain health types who might be more resistant to change and a little more complacent. But it also could be that there's some unhealed trauma there, some patterns that you haven't really worked with yet that are standing in your way. You are standing in your own way by not facilitating the inner work and the inner healing that it takes to free yourself from what the familiar past is. And we know that psychobiologically, hormonally, neurochemically, we can get addicted to whatever reality we have been in for a long time. It becomes so familiar that not only does it seem normal, but it actually seems enticing because it's comfortable, and the brain and the nervous system are always looking for comfort because they equate it with safety, whereas the unfamiliar feels like uncharted territory. And for a nervous system that's not regulated, that's destabilized on some level, unfamiliar can be paired with unsafe. And that is not always true, but that does feel true when you're in a dysregulated nervous system, right? So sometimes you have to do some healing on an inner level before you're able to move across that bridge into the unfamiliar future that potentially could have a heavenly future for you. It could have other barriers as well. There's all kinds of options in the multiverse. And if you're going to stand at the gate of all the quantum potentials for your future, there's a level of self-resiliency that needs to be present in order to move forward towards that.
And we are the creator of our reality.
Mhm.
It's not that it's right or wrong. It's this is where our reality is right now for us. So if someone's feeling like they're mired down, bogged down in really thick mud, and you say, "Oh, but you're not," you're not validating them that they feel that they are. So you just have to meet them. I think that's what you say. Like you meet them where they are and show them that the way they are interpreting things is keeping them in that mud
Mhm.
instead of looking across and saying, I can make it across that bridge. It's just whether it's the bridge or a couple of slippery rocks, they might be a little slippery, but once you get over there, I made it and everything changes there. As far as speaking on the health types, absolutely. If you look at a diplomat, he started with activators, right? You and I are both activators. If I could tell you how many times I've moved in my life because need a change of scenery. I don't even, I go crazy in here because my condo's small, so I don't have the ability to move things around. I used to change things. I used to change my bedroom all the time because it was just something different that brought it in. We are very good with change. Connectors, very good with change. We need change. We need that stimulation of change. If you look across the health type circle, the opposites, the diplomats, serotonin driven. Serotonin is comfort. This feels good. And they're going to be very resistant to change. So when I say I'm working with an activator, which I am working with some activators right now, nectars, they're they're pretty much on it. Let me see what I need to do. I just need clear, concise directions so that I can take action. Very action oriented. And the connector sees outside the box. They're open to different things. So really, really good with change. My diplomats and an activator, I very rarely have an activator do extra sessions after a program. Diplomats, different story. It takes a while because this is not comfortable, and they will pull away and reject things that are not comfortable unless they are truly in that headspace of, "This is so uncomfortable, but I need to make the change." So we really start with just one thing, and kind of one of the things that you and I and so we wanted to talk about is really what's the smallest thing you can do that would make the biggest difference in your life right now? Smallest move, whether it's changing time on your meals, the changing time of a workout. Maybe it's I'm going to go to bed an hour earlier, or I'll have some that are think they're super night owls and they're not. I had a crusader male. He was going to bed around 2 a.m. He needs to be asleep about 10 a.m. didn't sleep well, was online doing all kinds of financial stuff at night. And the thought stressed him out because they're so routine that the thought of cutting back like 3 hours sleep, even though he knew it would make him feel better and be more efficient and productive, it freaked him out so much, so we started 15-minute increments. Go to sleep 15 minutes earlier for a couple of days, and then another 15 minutes, and that actually worked for him. So same thing with anybody that who is very resistant to change, and that's the beauty of having a coach that gets it, right? Understands that you are going to have issues with changes. To just if you know this is you, chip, chip away, right? Just little bits. You don't have to make every single change overnight because that will really cause that analysis paralysis you referred to, I think, Kate. That then you it's freeze frame. This is so much. This feels so uncomfortable. Everything's changing at once, and a diplomat's environment is their top priority because if that's really out of sync, there's more discomfort. So if you have anything in the environment changing, getting rid of clutter, even though it's something that can make a massive change in lifestyle, just getting rid of clutter, the thought of tackling a closet or a big pile is very daunting. So it's just, I have one gal, she said, I'm going to do for the next week, I'm going to do an hour. They just moved. I'm going to do an hour in the garage unpacking boxes each day until it's done. So you just, when you know it's uncomfortable, you pick something very small and you just start chipping at it, just one little thing at a time to where it might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it's going to start feeling more comfortable. And then you're going to start feeling like you accomplished something, which feels even better and feeding your soul that way. And you'll start to see things change.
I have one thing to say about that before you move on to other health types. I really love the author and writer Martha Beck. If you haven't seen or read any of her work, The Way of Integrity is one of her books. It's completely changed my life. I've read it numerous times. And I believe it's in The Way of Integrity that she writes about making changes like this. And she talks about it in the visual sense of a giant cruise ship in the ocean. And if that ship charts its course 1 degree differently,
Mhm.
it's going to end up in an entirely different destination at only 1 degree of change.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take a lot to make change in your life. And when we're talking about epigenetic expression from lifestyle change, one change could inevitably ripple out into not only making other changes feel more accessible and easier to implement in your life, but it can get you out of that stuck mode where you've just begun. Like sometimes you have
Mhm.
to begin and you just start anywhere. Like when I started working with you, Susan, on my DNA and my pH 360, you told me that my DNA was sensitive to fluoride. And I've been using fluoride toothpaste for my whole entire life. And I don't know, I don't really care that much about toothpaste. I swapped it out for a fluoride-free toothpaste. I've been using it now. It's fine. It's great. Maybe it's changing me on some inner level that I'm not aware of, but it was a really easy change for me to make. I just stopped using fluoride toothpaste. You also told me to eat 2 Brazil nuts every day for extra selenium
Millennium.
for my thyroid. And I like Brazil nuts, but I wasn't eating them every day. Now I do. It's really easy. It doesn't cause me any stress. It doesn't take anything extra from me. And maybe it's helping me on an intrinsic level. So
Right.
if you feel overwhelmed, if your life is just crazy full and about to bust at the seams, but changing out your toothpaste feels accessible, or changing your bedtime by 15-minute increments feels okay enough to begin with, just start anywhere. It's no right or wrong place to start changing your life. The right time to start changing your life is now.
Is now.
Whatever feels accessible in the now is the right answer.
Where another saying I love, you're one decision away from a completely different life. And that it can literally be that one decision. Maybe that one decision of instead of having this cup of coffee, I'm going to switch this cup out for water and have it bring me more peace instead of more anxiety from the caffeine. Do I really need that caffeine? Likely not. So
Yeah.
why not just make that one change or start doing half calf? Again, you're not going to notice a difference in taste, people, trust me. But just that one little change. And I think you really have to celebrate the victory, every little victory. And for some, again, I'm going back over to that side of the circle with the diplomats, especially. You want to celebrate each victory as it's won because that feels so good that that's what will drive you to do more. For us, it's more of the competitive. Uh, oh, knock that off because I knew I could. Right? So
It's so funny, Susan, I feel very straddled across this
you
wall
are.
because my primary is activator and my secondary is diplomat, and so I really and it's so funny I show up this way paradoxically in a lot of different health and personality inventories. Some personality types don't even really type me very well because I think I'm paradoxical in ways like this. And so I can relate to both being an activator, an agent of change, a go-getter, but as my freestyle competition coach would tell you, I don't compete. I don't care about competition. I remember him, like, putting his hands on my shoulders and looking me in the eye and being like, "Care. Care if you get a medal. Care if you win." And I was like, "I don't care. I just
Here for the fun.
it's fun. I'm doing this because I like it. I'm not doing this to win." And so it's even though I'm an activator, I lack a competitive bone in my body. I just don't have it.
I think it's the placement. I think it's the placement also with the connector. It's really I just want to have fun. But the funny thing on my profile, I noticed because I just looked at it. I've had this thing for almost 5 years, and I look at it all the time. And when I delved deeper into the fitness part, it said may not be the best for competitive sports. And I thought, I used to live by the whiteboard at CrossFit, live by it. I remember, oh my gosh, this was like 2016 or 2017, the CrossFit Open. And I was in I think it was 50 to 55, Montana, scaled. I wasn't doing RX at the time. But after the first WOD, I was like 7 points, 7 or 11 points with ahead of everybody else. So I think I was the only one that finished it. I can't remember. Or there might have been one other person, but I think I was the only one that finished it. And so I thought, oh my God, I'm going to hold on to this the rest of the competition. I remember crying. I was so stressed out because I can't give this up. I can't give this up. I did stay in first to the end. And I was sick as a dog in the last one. At the last one, sick as a dog, and I pushed through it. So I thought, I'm not going to lose. I can't lose. I lost the lesson, and it was to just let go. But interestingly enough, seeing that in the profile that I likely am like you, I just want to have fun. I've moved into more of that. I'm more competitive with myself now, just in accomplishing what I want to accomplish, but it has to be fun. I don't. So it's just funny uh, how differently we live because I don't run off the diplomat brain. I'm so activator connector. But I just want to have fun, but I want to win. Like
Yeah.
that's
And I feel if I have my diplomat needs met, then I can activate the activator power, right? But
yeah.
I'm
We have to get in the comfort.
and I'm not impulsive, right? So many activators might be impulsive. I don't do things with thinking them through and making sure that it feels like the right decision. And that process can happen incredibly fast in my system. Like when it's a yes, I know it's a yes, but if
Yeah.
not a yes, I don't act on it. So I think this is why it's beneficial to work with you, Susan, and understand the pH 360 breakdown and what your secondary is and maybe even your tertiary so that if you're not like you don't fit neatly and cleanly into one bucket, this is why. And I
Yeah.
also will say when it comes to change and people's resistance to change or their headfirst leaping toward change, everything we do, and we'll talk about this in a future podcast we're going to be recording about internal family systems therapy and parts work. This is a modality that I use a lot because it's so incredibly powerful and beneficial. So every single thing we do in our life and don't do is serving us on some level. It's adaptive. And when I say adaptive,
Mhm.
it means that we have adapted to a perspective of either doing or not doing that thing because on some inner level, our system has learned that's how we stay safe. That's how we thrive. And so if change feels really scary for you, it could be an adaptive response to change that on some level, at some point in your life, change didn't go so well. Maybe your parents had a divorce early on and going back and forth between their households was really traumatic for you, right? Or maybe you took a huge leap at work and you didn't grow wings on the way down and you crash landed and it didn't go well.
You got fired.
You got
Right?
fired.
Fired from that position you took a chance on.
And so your system was like, ooh, we're not going to do that again. That doesn't work. And so you've adapted to avoid or resist change because of your life experiences, right?
Uh,
On the converse, people who leap toward change and are more impulsive with it, they've learned through life that that works. Like maybe it leaves damage control in their wake. However, on some level, they've learned that when I do this, it works out well for me. So I'll do this more. And so, if you're noticing a pattern inside of you related to change, it's probably rooted somewhere in your past. And it could be your very, very distant past. It could be before you even remember. It could be pre verbal. Or it could be something that happened last year that was really impactful and shaped you. But I just really want you to know that we don't do anything or avoid anything for no reason. It always comes
right.
from somewhere. And the more awareness you can have for why you've created these patterns, the better you can work with them, get curious about them, and potentially unwind them so that you can have a little bit more stable baseline for how to move forward. And you can just take the information at hand and chart your course without being bogged down by the weights of these patterns of the past.
Right, I agree. And when you start to understand that it could be either something that you have no awareness around, or it is your actual biology that causes you to react this way. If you tune into that, you start to get a sense of peace over that awareness you're starting to create. And I think awareness is, again, I've talked about this for over a year now, about how awareness is key. When you start to become aware of these patterns, like you said, that we are creating. Why do I keep doing the same thing over and over? Is it something that I developed young, or is this part of how I'm biologically created, or is it a combination of the two?
Yeah. And I think autopilot is something to look out for here because if you have been doing the same thing for so long that it's actually just become habitual, you're no longer choosing it. Your body is just so familiar with it. It's firing those neurons and those synapses are connecting you to that behavior unconsciously. It's like you don't use a spoon and think about how to get that spoon into your mouth the way you did when you first learned when you were like 2 or 3 years old. I don't know if
Mhm.
anyone here has a little one, but if you have a toddler, using a spoon is really hard in the beginning. Like, they miss a lot, and they end up with baby food on their face because their brain hasn't really adapted to the point where using a spoon is automatic. And now, as an adult, most of us can do it with our eyes closed or while we're reading a book. But our behaviors are the same way. If you've been doing the same thing in repetition over years, maybe decades, that becomes an autopilot response and it lacks awareness. And so you're not making conscious choice. You're just going with the flow of what you've always gone with. And if you are in a state like we're talking about of changing your lifestyle so you can improve your health or your mental health or your relationships or your life, you're going to have to take yourself off autopilot. And so noticing what you do automatically just by having a little more mindfulness in your day or sometimes in relationships, people will be like, okay, I keep attracting people with this quality. I keep having the same on the third date. I have the same response and I get non-committal or I want to run away. That's a pattern. And it could be something that you're doing unconsciously. So, with awareness, with intention, you can be able to sit in the discomfort of not clicking into autopilot, but actually choosing something differently and say, okay, so on the third date, even if I have the impulse to run, I'm not going to. I'm going to give it one more date. Go to the fourth date. If you want to leave after that, go for it. But just don't leave on the third date like you always do.
I think it's also the ego protecting us. That's what the ego's for, right?
Yeah.
And again, and that's all around safety. It's meant to protect us, but it keeps us stuck. So
Hmm.
when you can create that awareness that this is my ego talking here, and it's all about the comfort, it's all about this is where my safety lies. But how safe really are you?
Mhm.
And what does safety do? That creates that existing and keeps you from thriving.
Mhm.
We need to fully live and let go. And when you let go of the things that you think are just here to protect you, that's when you really start to live life.
Yes.
Because how many people are in situations where they're literally existing through life, like you said, on autopilot, just doing the same things, the same routines, and they're not happy. And they talk about not being happy. And they're the ones who I'll listen to you vent for a bit, but nothing's changed in 5 years. You're still venting about the same thing. When are you going to take that step, that first step towards getting out of where you're not happy? Because we are put on the face of this earth to have joy in our life. And we talked about that when we recorded with the Eddies last week about having joy. It's the circle of life, we call it, where it looks like a pie and you've got relationships, love, fitness, food. Joy is one of those pieces of the pie. Well, why is that? If you don't have joy, it's affecting all of those other pieces. Whereas one of those pieces affecting the joy, it all plays together. So the more you create awareness around what is something that's so out of sync for me and seems daunting, but just this one change I can make and tell the ego to shut the F up. like, I got this, man. It's got to be a man. Trying to
Yeah.
protect. I've got this. I got this, bro. To sit with that. And then the other thing is you talked about peace, creating peace. When we're not feeling joy, when we're not where we're supposed to be for whatever reason, it is an angst. How many people do you know on anti-anxiety meds? Kids. It's crazy. Depression, depression meds, bipolar. Yeah, it's just, it blows my mind. When you tune into lifestyle, what's happening? What are you eating? So even when we talk about changing lifestyle here to change your life, food does come into play. If you are eating a bunch of sugar, processed foods, drinking sodas, those god awful energy drinks, you're living on caffeine because you are not sleeping. So you need to fuel with the caffeine instead of fueling from a good night's sleep because I'm so busy. Taking that time to bring that calm and find that peace. The problem is, when we've talked about this too, people don't want to listen to themselves, listen to those thoughts. But you have to listen to those thoughts and let them go to get over that bridge.
Yeah.
And that's where
And
you sit in peace. Because otherwise you're on this in the mucky side, thinking deeper, going, I just want to go over there. I can't walk yet. So give me the reasons. Give me that energy drink to soothe me, which is doing the exact opposite. It's changing. It's chemicals in your brain, in your body, everything that's making you less aware. It's making you tired. You don't sleep. How can we be fully aware and fully happy when these things aren't happening?
you bring up a good point that sometimes you're delaying the instant gratification of grabbing the caffeine or grabbing the sugar for a longer positive gain. So it might be a little more uncomfortable in the moment where you're
In
like,
the moment.
I'm really exhausted and I could use a double espresso right now, but instead I'm going to have an herbal tea or a glass of water maybe
Or
with
go for a walk.
electrolytes. Right. So
Mhm.
in the moment, it is the harder choice. And the resistance that you feel in your body to make that change is real. And it takes courage and it takes strength to move through that moment where it feels difficult up front, but you're working for a longer term gain. And to hold that in your mind as the intention can be really fortifying because you're not making the change for now, you're making the change for tomorrow's version of you or next month or next year's version of you who will look back at this moment and thank you for making the harder decision. And I think this is also, it plays in with community and relationships too. I have someone in mind in my extended family who's just like dealing with all kinds of inflammatory stuff. He has gout, he's dealing with he's really overweight. There's a lot of anxiety. He can tend into depression. And so he knows he has inflammatory stuff that's affecting his physical and his mental bodies. And yet, he continues to hang out with people who are like staying up late eating junk food, drinking a lot of alcohol, like perpetuating a pattern where there isn't enough sleep. There's a lot of stress. It's like it's this kind of play hard, work hard, but not rest hard to
Not
balance
rest.
it all. And so, as long as he is calling in those same people, eating those same foods, staying up till those same hours, nothing is going to change. And he's going to have to face potentially changing some of his friends if he actually wants to change his life, because the
Mhm.
community that he's living in accordance with doesn't support a healthy lifestyle. It supports gout and depression and anxiety and stress. And so that can be a barrier for people too, is they say, okay, so on the other side of the bridge, that unfamiliar potential version of heaven looks really great, but my best friend or my spouse can't come with me. And then they start to choose the familiar discomfort because they're
Familiar.
like, "Oh, it's too hard to let go of relationships," or "It's too hard to leave a job that's really helping me earn a lot of money, but ultimately creating all this stress." So, I think it can be like a Rubik's Cube where you have to kinda look at all the different pieces that are playing into what's not working for you, and some of them might be really uncomfortable. You might have to tell your friends like, "Ah, sorry, let's not order pizza tonight. That doesn't sit well with me." Or a lactose intolerant person who's still eating cheese and later on having a stomach ache because the people that they were with were eating cheese. And so you have to stand up for yourself and you have to make the changes. Maybe you bring your own food, maybe you order something different, and you know when to leave the party so that you can go to sleep. And yes, this might result in losing some friends. And yes, this might mean that you need a new job and that you need a new life and you need a different perspective on what matters to you. But ultimately, once you get that Rubik's Cube into alignment, everything works better. Not only will the inflammatory things like gout or mental illness start to decrease, but your relationships will feel more aligned. You will feel happier. You will feel more alive. You'll notice less of the autopilot. And so one small change or potentially a few small changes with the Rubik's cube end up creating large scale health in a way that you never could have accomplished when you were having all these little cheat codes that you were allowing into your life.
Mhm. And I've lived every bit of that you just described. It was 2010 when I knew I was having some issues, and that was with celiac. So I knew I had to make changes around gluten. But 2014 when it really, really started to hit me. And I would challenge people, if you're with a group, your circle, and they don't support you in making the changes when you say, "Hey, I'm making changes for my health," and they're out there saying, "Oh, this isn't gonna hurt you. Just had the what's wrong with you? Why can't you just eat that?" Probably not your tribe. And it can be super hard. I've let friendships go, family, a little bit of everything. If people don't love you for you, which is supporting anything that's healthy for your mind, body, soul, then they're not it's okay to distance yourself. You don't have to do a cutoff, but it's okay to distance yourself and say, "But I need to take care of me first." Because if you don't put you first and your needs in making these changes, nobody else is going to. Realize that. Another cool one I read was, if you keep looking at tomorrows, you're just gonna end up with a lot of and I know I'm totally screwing it up, but basically you're gonna end up with a lot of unfulfilled yesterdays. So it is about, what can you do today in this moment to take that one small step? And when I got the diagnosis of the celiac, and I knew I had to start making some changes, and then it was and I was eating all this stuff. I would do corn chip nachos. Then I found out I had an actual dairy allergy, the egg allergy. So I'm very particular in what I eat. I learned that I have to come first, because if I'm in these social situations and I don't feel good, then how am I being fully present in this gathering? How am I impacting others around me if I don't feel good? And if you're going to a barbecue, a dinner party, whatever, and you're eating just to be courteous, you're eating what the host has without them knowing that you have these issues, how do you think they're going to feel when you get sick or you don't feel good? Nobody wants that. I've never had a host say, "Oh my God, really?" Everybody has been so supportive. I bring stuff that I can eat because I don't want to put it on someone else to try to cook to cook for me, or to say, just make a salad, but don't put the cheese on the side. Just put the veggies in there. I'm good. Communicate. I think it's all about owning you and what your wants and needs are to make these changes. Because if someone is telling you this is stupid, or I can't believe you're doing this, or just go ahead and have this, you've just triggered something in them. It has nothing to do with you if they're not supporting you. It's coming from that. Maybe they want to make changes. Maybe they're very overweight. And you go, "No, I'm not gonna have dessert while we're out tonight." They go, "Come on, just have this pie with me." And they hammer on you about that. They're just not ready to make a change yet. And they're looking to have that person say, "It's okay." You need to be the one that for you, it's not. And that's always me. So it's okay to take your own food and let the host know ahead of time. "Hey, I have major food issues. Don't want to put it on you." If they're having like hot dogs, "Hey, I'm going to bring my own grass fed burgers." Or, "Do you mind if I throw a couple chicken thighs on the grill?" Nobody cares, people. I'm here to tell you, nobody cares. And if you bring some food that's actually pretty healthy, now again, we know health types differ, individuals differ with what's right for them and what works for them and what doesn't. But if you bring a salad that's maybe it's not mayonnaise laden and loaded up with cheese and all these things, and you just bring a fresh vegetable salad with a beautiful olive oil, lemon juice, vinaigrette on there, that's just the beauty of the veggies, you might turn someone on to that enough that they want to take a first step. That's how I got into coaching. I would post things on Facebook of what I was doing, and people started reaching out to me. "Do you have this recipe? What do you think about this? Look at this." And I thought, geez, I'm helping everybody. Why not? I was still in law enforcement. Why not make a career out of this? I want to help other people. There's people that want the information. And it really does become that ripple effect of you just might affect one person to make that decision.
Mhm.
And then you get to support them, and then they're going to be more supportive of you. And you might start a whole new tribe, a whole new community that's more in alignment with you. And that helps you to keep moving forward, as opposed to those communities, like you said, that keep you stuck on that other side of the bridge, just
Yes.
stuck in that mud. It's look for that support.
Mhm.
I see the best results in my people that have somebody, not just me, but sometimes it is just me. But when they have a spouse, like we had on my client and her husband, we're gonna have coming out soon. And the support from him, from her whole family was so phenomenal. She's had so much success and no pushback from it.
Mhm.
And it's just allowing her to be her. And
Yeah.
that's what we need to do, is not just meet other people where they are, but meet ourselves where we are, enough to take that step. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think in addition to support, change requires consistency, especially if it's with these little things. If you're making a huge change that's going to feel like a break in the earth, right? If you're going to divorce your spouse or change your career path, that's a little bit easier sometimes because everything is so different that you're so awake. You're so alert to the change, and you don't have to remind yourself that you're in a change because it's so evident to every aspect of your being. Whereas if you're working on trying to eat maybe lower inflammation foods, or if you're working on maybe self-reflecting or having more accountability in your life so you're not projecting blame. These are things that require consistency. It's great if you can have accountability in one moment. That's absolutely better than having no accountability at all. But if it ends after one moment, it doesn't really go that far into changing your life, right? If
No.
you want to become an accountable person, you get to show up every day with the intention of accountability, right? And that's why sometimes having just one intention for change that you're working on at a time can be really helpful so that you're not distracted by a million intentions. You know what you're working on. It's accountability
Uh-huh.
for the whole week. And maybe you have markers where you say, I'm going to shoot for accountability once a day. And every time I feel it, I'm going to thank myself for doing it. I'm going to notice it. I'm going to notice how it feels in my body, taking responsibility for myself. And maybe it's about saying no to certain foods, right? Every time you say no to it and you make a healthier choice, you feel proud of yourself. So, having support from the people in your life so that you can then be consistent for yourself is like a chain reaction that ultimately benefits you. And it also models for people around you. It shows people what it looks like to
Mhm.
actually work on yourself and really
Yeah.
make a commitment to yourself and to your health that will last in the long run. And the more you make these healthy decisions, the more habituated they become and the less challenging they become because they just become who you are, right? Who you are working hard to be now is the person in the future who you will be with ease. And so just to make sure that you have that consistency and the support around the consistency is huge in really making these things integrated.
I think so often we're fighting against who we actually are because of who we've been told to be or taught to be and
Mhm.
not how we were created.
Yeah.
So when I work with people and they start making the changes, it does become easier because it's, wow, this is the rhythm I'm supposed to be in. This always, I thought this felt good, but it wasn't supposed to feel good. It wasn't supposed to feel good to sleep in. It wasn't supposed to feel good to go to bed early, whatever the case may be, or to give up that food and to eat more vegetables instead of high protein. It just never sat right with me. Now it does. That's where you start to find ease. And as we say with PH 360, then you get in flow. And I had a client say to me, I don't understand the flow thing until I understood the flow thing. It's just, when I first talked about getting into flow, you're just so out of flow. It's just, I didn't know what the hell you were talking about. And then I got in flow. I was like, this makes sense because it feels like you're flowing. Where when we're fighting against ourselves, our natural selves, it's a we're hitting the wall. We're just constantly hitting that wall. And that doesn't feel good. We know something's off, but we again, it's we know it's off. Maybe it's just because I'm stressed. It's just this. No, it's just because you're not being who you are authentically designed to be. So I think it creates that's where it creates that peace and that comfort when you finally get into that mode. The other thing is you were talking about intentions. And you hear intentions, set the intentions with the new moon, set intentions here. So get out there and set your intentions. Intentions are great, but they're really nothing unless you have actions backing them. So you can write down all your intentions. You can sit there in your journal every night, write your intentions down. Pick one to follow with one action. One action for one intention. I'm going to I'm going to make better food choices this week. So my intention is I'm going to prep one meal ahead for this week. I'm going to prepare my lunches so that I can grab and go a healthy lunch. Now you've started putting that intention into practice to start creating that habit.
Mhm. Yep, and then noticing the action, you open the fridge and the action is choosing something healthy. The intention was to eat healthy, the action is to choose it, to make that meal, to put it in your body, and to feel grateful to yourself for making that change. Yeah. Yeah, great conversation today. This all feels important. I
Yeah,
hope
I
I hope
agree.
it's helpful to listeners as you're listening along. I hope you're finding aspects where you're like, "Oh, that feels doable. That feels attainable. I could do that." Because really any change is change. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to rock your world. It can feel supportive. It can feel gentle. I think most things in life that are really gentle movement forward tend to stick pretty well. So it doesn't have to be earth-shattering. Just start with the fluoride in your toothpaste and go
Yeah.
from there.
And it will feel uncomfortable in the beginning. And I heard this great analogy yesterday. I was listening to something on YouTube. I love these inspirational things, so let's put them on a play. And it was about how when when you feel the most uncomfortable, God's getting you ready for something amazing. And the analogy this person used was, think of birthing a baby, which is going to be a wonderful thing. You're bringing a child into the world, but you have to go through labor before it gets there. Do you sit there? And they said, are you in the middle of the childbirth when they're saying push, push? You're like, no, I'm out. I'm done. Leave it in there. Walk away. No, you follow it through. And I just thought that was a really great analogy to know that that bit of discomfort, really think about that. It's birthing something new for you that's going to be more beautiful than what you're dealing with right now. And I loved that. I love analogies. And I just love that. And that really sat with me that the more uncomfortable you can be. Now, I've never given birth, so I don't know how bad it is, but I can imagine. I've had some injuries that probably, but, but everything we go through where there's a darkness or it feels like a darkness and it feels so daunting, get past it. Take that one little place to get past it. And the light is so much brighter than where you've been. So thank you so much.
Just start. Just begin where you are with what you have, with what feels capable inside of you today. Right now is the best moment to make change at any magnitude. Any change that you make in this moment is change, and it all counts.
And then you, as you've just listened to, Kate and I both work with clients to create change, healthy change. Hers for the mind, mine for the body, mind, soul. And if you've listened to us, we've had to do it with ourselves. And this, you just heard some of the struggles we've had with it, and where it's things. Some things are easier, but nobody's perfect here. Celebrate each little change you make. Celebrate that you did that. Make that feel good. Celebrate you, and that will help you to keep moving forward. And if you need help further, hit us up.
We're
So,
here.
we're
All
here.
right. Should we do our closing question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'll ask you, and then you can ask me. For those of you who haven't heard this before, we end every podcast with the same question to help bring the intention of creating a radiant life through epigenetics into our life and into the guests that we interview. So, Susan, what are you doing today in this moment to cultivate a radiant life through epigenetics?
Because I do so much every day. So I forgot we were going to ask this question. I'm like a deer, like deer in the headlights. Of course, it's always what I feed myself. So I'm already thinking about when we hang up here, what's my snack going to be to carry me into my workout at 2 o'clock. So that the other thing for me, because I didn't have it for so long, is just sleep, is good quality sleep. I had another phenomenal night of sleep. My recovery is amazing. My heart rate variability went from, geez, in the 30s just a couple of months ago. I'm at an average of 66 now. And I feel phenomenal. So what I'm doing, I'm setting the intention to continue to do. Let's say that. So that's what I'm doing today is all of these things I'm continuing to make this part of my daily lifestyle so that I can get even better and continue to thrive. I get a milestone birthday coming up in just a couple of months, and I want to bring it in like a boss. And this bull doesn't age gracefully. So just testing myself more and more of what my limits are, and getting past those things that feel uncomfortable and celebrating the victories. So what about you, Miss Kate? What are you doing to live your most radiant life through epigenetics today?
Lately, I have been really sticking with my meditation practice. I have a pretty deep training in meditation from my transpersonal counseling psychology degree, and I do love meditation, but sometimes I can stray from it. And so I have been doing a Joe Dispenza course that's a multi-module course that's really powerful and amazing, and he includes a lot of meditations in there, and so I've been trying to be very specific and also intentional about really following through with those meditations. And so the one that I've been practicing this week is 50 minutes, which feels like a lot of time for a life that has a lot
But
of
it's
aspects
not.
to it. And I'm doing it. I'm carving out the time, and each meditation is taking me into a really deep place, and as I come out of it, I'm feeling specifically a lot of heart energy, a lot of open and free heart energy that's a creative force in my life. So I'm meditating for my radiant life this week.
I love it. I that is a huge thing for me, and activators, it's the second to last priority for us is the mind. And that really was a big one for me getting there. I meditate at night, but I brought it into my mornings, and it can be anywhere from 30 minutes to 90 minutes. And when I come out of it, like I wake up and then a lot of times I put my little red light canopy over me. But it is just such to start your day with peace instead of, all right, what do I have to do? No, I don't do it on days I get to hike because I'm out the door. But on my work week, my work days, absolutely. And I think this is what you say. Like it's just you feel lighter, you feel brighter, right? It's just a beautiful way to bring that into your day and just turn everything off that we all these things we think about that we have to do. And so I love that for you that you're getting into that because I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. And it's a huge part of my day. And I love Dispenza as well. He's one of my morning regulars. That didn't sound good.
All
Yeah.
right. Thanks everyone for being here today with us.
Yeah. If you want to reach out to either of us, everything is in the show notes. Give us your questions, comments, and let us know what you'd like to hear from us in the future. This show is for you. So thank you so much for listening. Get out there, make it a great day, be your most authentic selves, and make one small change today for your future. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, we'd love for you to share it, leave a review or comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Help us get this information out to everyone who could benefit, and we'll keep bringing you the content you crave.
You can also check out our podcast site at everydayepigenetics.co and sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on upcoming episodes. The link is in the show notes.
If you're interested in DNA or epigenetic coaching with Susan, or Radiant Life Coaching for deep inner work with Kate, our contact info is in the show notes below.
Now go and make it a great day and let your most authentic self shine.